Hello everyone, I'm home. Welcome back to my channel. I'm out here watching my birds and enjoying my flowers, writing some entries in my grateful journal. I started writing my grateful journal about 35 years ago. I love this book, Simple Abundance. I think I've told you about it before. It gives you some really good ideas on how to get started doing that. And then the follow-up book, Peace and Plenty, is just as good. And I was thinking about how you just have to be grateful for everything. Sometimes things don't always go your way and things aren't always going smoothly, but we've always got to be grateful. And I wanted to welcome new friends. I'm getting quite a few new subscribers, and I got to thinking that maybe some of you might want to go back, if you're new to my channel, and look at some of my previous videos. I've got about 55 videos now. This one's called Getting to Know My Channel. It's one that'll show you some things that I like to do. And this one was one of my biggest ones, called Miracle Thrift Find. And I have several videos, and if you could go back and watch some of them, you get to know a little bit more about what I like to do. Getting to know my channel was basically just pictures. There was a little bit of music involved, showing the different kind of things that I do and the things that bring me a lot of joy. And I got to thinking about how in my videos I'm always saying, there's nothing I'd rather do than bake a cake, or there's nothing I'd rather do than go thrifting, or there's nothing I'd rather do than bake pies, and there's nothing I would rather do than have time to sit around and make miniatures. And of course, miniatures are my passion. I love all the other things I do, but miniatures really turn me on. I just love them. And this Elvis project that I'm working on, and I know you guys are probably getting impatient, but in order to do miniatures, I have to be like up in the middle of the night, like at 2 in the morning, sitting at my studio table, intensely working on miniatures. I totally engulf myself in it, and I love it. And lately things are crazy, and I haven't had a lot of time to do that, but I'm working on it. I'm doing little things, and I'll be sharing that with you real soon, I promise. But miniatures is a whole different ball game than this other stuff that I do. You know, the gardening and the decorating and the thrifting, I can do that during the day, but miniatures I pretty much work on at night. And here's some of the things that I've shown you in the past. My new viewers may not have seen it, but like I said, when I work on these things, it's daytime, and I like to have my house like super clean, and I like to have some food in the crock pot so I don't really have to deal with that stuff while I'm baking or sewing or gardening or whatever it is that I'm doing. And I say that all these things are my favorite things to do, and I think what it boils down to is I'm just in love with a lot of things. I'm creative, and I have a passion for just getting up and trying to accomplish as many things during the day that I can. And this Elvis thing's really bugging me because I want to sit and work on Elvis all the time. I just want to be making those projects. And there's several little things I have to do before the whole project comes together. And I'm filming all of it, and I'm going to show you guys when I'm done. But like this project here, I remember sitting on the ground outside putting all these little miniatures together for this little roadside stand. And this little Christmas cabin, it was snowing and cold, and I was in the house, and I had plenty of time to gather rocks out of my driveway and sticks and things to make things. And I found this little shirt at a yard sale that was a little kid's shirt that had a small buffalo check print. And it was kind of like flannel, so I used that for the bed. And this just turns me on. I love to just sit and totally get into miniatures, and I haven't been able to lately. This little miniature was made by my cousin for me, but I made the inside and decorated it up, and I get totally engrossed in it, just like these little, well, they're little rolls is what they are, and all the little seed pods and berries that I found for my miniature canning scene. I could sit and do this for the rest of my life. I love it so much. And of course I like to sew, and that's a wintertime thing when I'm sitting in the chair doing nothing. And of course I love my flowers. You guys have seen these so many times. I've showed this picture so many times. And this is a plant that one of my kids on my school bus years ago gave me, and it comes up every year, just little miniature orange roses. And then my flowers and roses, they're all over my house. Now these are the dried ones that I don't know how old these are. I save all my rosebuds. I save all my roses. I dry them all. I put them in pots. I set them on shelves. And these are old. I mean, probably 5 or 6 years old. They never fall apart. If a petal falls off, it falls off. Then I dry some, I like to dry some boxwood. I think I have a picture of some boxwood coming up. But these are different shades of flowers that I've had through the years, and I just keep them. I can't, my sentimental heart just won't let them go. There's the boxwood that's all dried out and crumbly, but I just use it. You know, I like old time worn things. Then I was at Joann Fabrics the other day, and I found this fall bouquet of some rust colored roses, and I had to grab it before they run out. And then I'm going to hang on to these hydrangeas. These are from last fall. They still look perfect, and I'm going to keep them until they are no longer there. My sunflowers that just came up, I didn't get my sunflowers out this year, and it didn't matter because I had so many coming up out in the wild. And that one's taller than my bell pole, which is 8 foot tall. So it's probably 10 foot tall, maybe 10 foot tall. And it's just beautiful up against that blue sky. And I hope you can see that little bee on top. I don't know if it's a bee. I couldn't see it good enough because I was far away, but I tried to zoom in on it. And then I had one little sunflower. They came up in the grass just all over. So this one bent over in our storm the other night, and I tied it back up, but it's still bent, and I didn't think it would bloom, but it did. It still had a bloom. And then all my flowers, oh my gosh, they're just doing so well. We've had a lot of rain, and I've watered, and I always add a little bit of vinca vine to my potted flowers to trail down, and it adds a little fullness to the pot as well. And then I showed you my little antique horse head and how the morning glories were covering him up. Well, that was last week. This is this week. He is totally covered. I don't even know if you can see him in there. It's so funny. They just climbed all over him, and they're just blooming like crazy. And this is one that kind of tangled itself around one of the sunflower stems. And this is my hibiscus that my friend Margie gave me when my brother-in-law passed away. It was just a little bitty bush, and it has grown, and those blooms are about 10 inches across. And this is my white hibiscus. It's out in the front yard, and I have 2 of them. I separated them last year because they just kind of got too big. They're not quite as big as the purple one. They're probably about 8 inches across, but they're just beautiful. And then, like I said, we had a storm, so I went around the yard and picked up all the sticks, piled them up, and I sat at the picnic table, or at my patio table, and broke all the sticks up and put them in baskets, because I like to have fire in my fire pit, and these keep the fire going real good until your bigger logs catch on. So I sat there with some snippers, and then I broke all the little sticks. I'm the kind of person that likes to do little monotonous things. I'm crazy that way. And these are some flowers out by my store, and the flowers are doing really well this year. And this is my garden. I know you're probably tired of seeing pictures of it, but my nephew gave me some tree trunks that he had cut off of a tree in his yard. And then there's some baskets that I found at a yard sale that I thought would be pretty to gather up some flowers. I just hang them on some hooks on a hall tree by my front door. That way, if I'm taking food to somebody or anything, I can just grab a basket. So I cleaned up after the storm and put everything back in place and cleaned all the tables and picked up all the broken glass. Okay, George and Grace. Remember I showed you in my last video the picture of George and Grace, and I didn't really tell you their love story, but I'm going to. That's their little tea set. I don't know if you can see it very good. The picture's kind of blurry when I blow it up. But George and Grace, she was my grandpa's sister, and this is her. And she was 11 years older than my grandpa, and she spoiled my grandpa and then my dad like crazy. I never met her, but I met her husband, George, and he was a wonderful person. That's my grandpa right in the center with the hat on, and his other sister's standing in front of him. Anyway, this is their wedding picture. George and Grace had a beautiful love affair from the very beginning. I guess Grace was very beautiful. And my grandma told me that all the boys in the county liked Grace, but George was her suitor. And here they are at their dining room table. I told you they had a beautiful Victorian home. And George was a teacher and a farmer, and he did a little bit of everything. He was a photographer. And recently my cousin gave me this box that he hand carved for Grace. And I've looked this box up and I can't find anything similar online. So it wasn't a kit or a fad of the time. I think it was just something that he did on his own. And isn't it beautiful? Can you imagine? When she gave me this box, she said open it. And when I did, he had carved Grace into the lid of that box. And then he put a lining in it, and it's just beautiful. Well, my grandmother had given me all of Grace's cards and postcards and her correspondences from George and others through the years, and I keep those in that box. And they're just wonderful to read, and I like to see how they wrote, how their handwriting was. And I have a lot of them. I keep some of the prettiest ones sitting around the house, but George had the most beautiful penmanship, and I love to read the things that they wrote inside the cards. For instance, George wrote to Grace one time, and he said, "Hello, Grace. You and Miss Davis were looking nice in that photograph, sort of cross-eyed. Perhaps Miss Davis was scared. I will not be going north this week after all, but I will send as many cards as you wish, my love. I'm smiling in Byington. Love, George." Well, Byington was where he lived, 5 miles away from Grace. And isn't that sweet that he said, "I'm smiling in Byington, just thinking of you." And they wrote each other postcards just 5 miles down the road. And this is a card from one of her other suitors. I guess she had a lot of boyfriends, and this one says, "Was good to see you." And this one, yes, is made of human hair. I guess that was a thing back in those days. They would take their hair and make little shapes. And I can't read what it says on the back, but it's made of hair. And my grandma, let's see, how was it? Okay, my Aunt Grace was my grandpa's sister. And on this card, she had written, "Hello, sweet William. We will be down to see you Sunday for dinner. Come see our new baby chicks. Clara Larrabee is sending you a cake. Love, Grace." Grace was 11 years older than my grandpa. Now, this is George's handwriting. Can you imagine getting a letter from a boyfriend written like that? And he thinks the world of you? And he's courting you? I just think it's so beautiful, and I'm so grateful to have this. And then George sent her this one that said, "Compliments of your Sunday school teacher." He was her husband, but he sent her a card that said that. And I have a lot of cards in that box, but these are ones that I've framed or just set around the house. You've seen this one before. It hangs above my hydrangeas that are drying in the kitchen. And then this one's one of my favorites because it's got kind of apricot-colored roses. And this is George with his pocket watch. And I have a lot of pictures of George and Grace tucked around my house because they just meant so much to me. My dad just adored both of them. And so you can just imagine how happy I am to have their tea set. At their auction, when George died, we went, my mom and I, and my mom bought a wrought iron bed. And I saw Grandma take this tea set. And when we got back to Grandma's house that night, my grandma was the administrator of his estate. We got back that night, and she said, "Dolly, come here." My family called me Dolly. She said, "I've got something for you." And she gave me that tea set. I was 18 years old. And this is I showed you these before, salt and pepper shakers that I found that matched it. And I just love them. Okay, so it's time to thrift. We met our son the other day for lunch, and he was nice enough to go to the Salvation Army with his mama, and they had a bunch of cranberry glass. Not real good cranberry glass. It was newer stuff, and it was not real dark pink. This had like little stars on it, and I didn't care for it. And their stuff was priced really outrageous. And then this was a little bit too light for me, but I took some pictures of it. And then I found this cranberry colored mercury glass bowl. It was $2.99, and I just loved it. It had silver on the inside, and as soon as I saw it, I knew what I was going to do with it. I brought it home, and I went through my house and got all my candles that were almost done, and I melted them all down, and I made a huge candle out of this bowl. And it's just beautiful. I burned it the other night, and I also put like a wax melt in it of a scent that I like, and it smells really good, and it's just beautiful. That mercury glass just sparkles. Then I saw this. Now, I like to save all the hand-painted rose plates that I come across, but I was smart and put this one back because I don't need it. But it said from Grandma Silver on the back. I think that's what it means. And we know some Silvers, and it's kind of local, so it might belong to their family, but I walked away from it. Then I saw this down in a basket that they had just brought out, and I had my son help me pull all the heavy stuff off of it. I knew what it was. It was this beautiful little antique picture with, I think they're violets or lilacs on it. And I had to buy that for $1.99 and set it in my kitchen. Sometimes I think I've lost my mind, and maybe I have. And this was another pretty rose plate that I passed on because, guys, I've got these things stacked to the ceiling. And this rose bowl was really pretty, and I love orange, but it was kind of a garish colored orange. I thought it was just too wild. And then my fruit plates, this was a fruit bowl that I just loved, and it was cheap, but I put it down. I've got so many fruit plates and bowls, but I just had to show it to you guys. And of course, I've been in the mood to look for furniture for my boys' apartment, so I checked out the furniture, and I have all I need, but they had a lot of nice pieces. I thought this one was really nice. It was a deep cushion. I mean, it was deep. I have never seen furniture like that before, but it was so clean and in such good condition. Then they brought this out on a new cart, and I thought, well, I don't need one of those, but I picked it up, and it was 99 cents, and I bought it because I had seen this at Walmart for $15. So I went ahead and got it, and then I have my new favorite fragrance. It's Farm Apple and Pumpkin that I got from Walmart as well. And I know you're not supposed to have that smelly stuff in your house. A lot of people are against it, and it's supposed to not be good for you. But we don't have any little ones in the house and no animals. It's just my husband and I just don't worry about it. I think that there's a lot of things in this world that's going to hurt us just as much. So enjoy your fragrance. And I really like that fragrance. Then I was in Goodwill one day, and I found this tall shelving unit, and it had 4 hooks around the top. It was $9.99, and I bought it and wiped it down, touched up some stained spots that were nicked, and I'm going to put it in my boys' apartment. They had a lot of beer bottles, big beer jugs, and they were all neat, but I thought it would be kind of cool to get the boys one to put change in or put some branches in. So I got him this one that says Taxman Beer Company. And then I found him this big, it's huge, and it's real heavy, kind of a stone bowl. And on the bottom it said Hobby Lobby, $39, and I got it for $2.99. And this vase went with it. These candle holders went with it, but I just got the stone bowl. I got to be careful with vases for my boys' apartments. I don't know what they're going to think of the ones I've already got, but I wanted to show you guys that once you get into the theme, you can find stuff. I purchased this for myself because it speaks to me and what would go in my house. I brought it home and filled the sink with a little cap full of this Downy Tide that smells fabulous, and swished it around and got the dust off of it. And then I set it on this little desk that I have where I've always had an orange bouquet of roses. And this is the orange bouquet, and it's looking pretty bad. And if you could see how dusty that is, it's awful. So I took those and washed them, and this was the picture on the box that those orange roses were in. And I cleaned those orange roses. Anyway, candy jars. Those are a nice thing to buy. They're usually 99 cents or $1.99, and you can put candy in them at Christmas for gifts. This was cute. It was a cookie jar that had no lid, but I like the color, and I turned it around, and it would make a nice utensil holder in your kitchen. So you can always repurpose things that aren't all there. And I noticed they had quite a few big crock-like things that you could use for utensils, but I had everything I need for the boys' apartment. I don't think I need one more thing. This is my quirky item for the week. Someone made this out of clay, and I don't think they fired it or painted it or anything, and I don't know that it would help if they did. But that's somebody made it, and it had a name on the bottom. Then I found these beautiful pillows. I had these in my cart the whole time I was in the store, but then I came to my senses and thought, first of all, I don't think they'll match your couch. You've got plenty of pillows in the bedroom. They did have a sham, and I bought the sham for a piece of fabric for 99 cents, but I walked away from those. And then I found this huge king-size bed skirt with about 12.5 inches of this fabric on the edge. And I did buy it for $1.99, and I washed it, and I cut it up, and I've got tons of the fabric. I made a bolster pillow, and I made another pillow, I think I made 2 this size, and I put them on my couch. I have a green brocade couch, and they look really pretty. Then I found this. I'm not sure what it was, or I didn't know at the time. I've been in Joann Fabrics and seen a lot of this vintage simplicity pattern stuff. This had little pockets in the side, and I didn't know what it was. It had little drawstrings, and I thought you could fold it over and make an apron, like if you're having a sale, or like sometimes when I have my store open, I use an apron. But I got it home. Well, no, I didn't buy it because I didn't know what it was, and I passed on it. But these are the things that Joann Fabrics has had lately. They're tins, and they have the old simplicity patterns on them. I think they're just beautiful. So I came home and didn't know what to look up, but I finally found it online, and it's a sewing machine cover. And I wish I'd have bought it because that would have been cool. Then I thought this pillow was really neat until I realized it was Illinois. It wasn't Indiana. Had to look it up on my phone. And then it finally happened. I almost bought this thinking, oh, I've got a casserole dish like that. And then it dawned on me that I donated this to that store about 5 weeks ago. And then one of my followers suggested that I give this rug to myself and give my sons a different rug because she thought it was too feminine for their apartment. So that's what I did. I switched it out with my rug. And so this is my rug, and the boys are getting my rug, if that makes any sense. And can you tell I'm looking forward to fall already? We've had a few cool afternoons and evenings, and yeah, I'm looking forward to fall. Getting out all my stuff is going to be treacherous because my boxes are stacked kind of wonky in the basement. But I'll be down there getting them out soon. And have you guys ever seen a mushroom circle? I don't exactly know what those are, but I saw one the other day driving down the road, and I thought it was really neat. So this weekend is when I move my boys' stuff in that I've thrifted and redecorate their apartment. So I'm going to film all that and do a before and after of their apartment. I'm really excited. I can't hardly wait for those other boys to move their stuff out so I can move my stuff in, and I'll let you know what the boys thought of it and what they wanted and what they didn't want, and it's going to be pretty interesting. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in today, and I love you so much, and you can follow me on Instagram, and I hope you guys have a wonderful week. I'm having a fabulous week, and I love you guys, and I'll see you on the next video.